Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Tuesday?
I'm looking forward to the show. A lot to talk about.
Yeah, no, we have a lot to talk about, a lot of games to get to. I'm sure people are waiting for the reaction to Sunday night's game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. We'll get into that immediately. We also have some breaking news when it comes to some NBA action. I think this move, I read an article recently. This article was written back in 2023, early in 23, about a particular NBA player on the move to a New York team. We'll get into that, obviously, a little bit later on in the show. But let's begin with the first topic of today's show, which is indeed that Sunday night game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills, where now the Baltimore Ravens moved to 2-2 as they completely destroyed the Buffalo Bills 35-10 on Sunday Night Football, thanks to two individuals, Lamar Jackson, who had 210 total yards and 3 total touchdowns, as well as Derrick Henry running all over the place, nearly 200 yards rushing, and he had a couple touchdowns himself. The Ravens were favored by 2.5 in this game on Sunday Night Football, and it did not look very close. It was close basically at 0 parts of the game, with Derrick Henry starting the game off for the Ravens with an 87-yard touchdown, and he never looked back. I want to know, what was your reaction, though, to Baltimore absolutely blowing out the Buffalo Bills on Sunday night?
I have 2 takeaways from this game, one for the Ravens and one for the Bills. My takeaway from the Ravens game, they found the winning formula. It's ground and pound with Derrick Henry, Lamar improvising and running when the play breaks down. That's their winning formula, and they played it to a T on Sunday night. They were unstoppable. That play with Derrick Henry on the first play they got the ball, 87-yard run for a touchdown. That's the biggest play of the year. I'm sorry. That's the most exciting play that's happened all this year so far. He left them in the dust. The guy's 30 years old. They said he was running at 27 miles an hour. You know? He left those guys in the dust. The guy hasn't lost it. He's still got that 6th gear. He can turn it on when he has to. A very impressive performance by him. So that's my takeaway, and I support it with the following data. The time of possession, the Ravens, 31 minutes. The total yards, they blew the Bills away, 427 yards. Third down, 5 of 9. First downs, 22. Problem with them still is they got to fix this. They want to be a Super Bowl winner. 8 penalties, and the penalties have been a problem for them. Although the fourth quarter wasn't this time. They've got that. They seem to have that fixed. They didn't let the Bills back into the game. Henry, 24 carries, 199 yards, 2 TDs, magnificent performance. Lamar, 13 of 18, didn't have to throw the ball much. They were killing it on the ground. 156 yards, 2 TDs, and he had 1 rushing TD too. 54 yards rushing. Jackson only sacked once. The defense, Van Noy, big on defense, 2 sacks, a forced fumble. He's had 2 sacks in 3 consecutive games. The guy's on pace maybe to set a record here. Baltimore's offensive line looks stellar right now. I would also say that the most impressive thing to me about the Ravens is, and their performance is even more impressive when you know the Bills knew what they were going to do. It was obvious. They have a decent defense too. They knew they were going to run the ball, and they couldn't stop it. So I think that's my take on the Ravens. They've got the winning formula. Can they keep it going? On the Bills side, the Bills were exposed. Okay?
Maybe.
They're not the powerhouse we thought they were. They're up against a strong defense, and the offense kept them kind of off the field. They had 28 minutes on offense, but still, they would expect to have a lot more with Josh Allen as their quarterback. They'd have their run game was where it was missing in action.
That's fair.
I mean, their stats were pedestrian. Allen, 180 yards, 20 yards, and had 21 yards rushing. Cook only 39 yards rushing. Ty Johnson had their lone TD on a short run. Shaquille led the receivers with 62 yards. That's pretty pedestrian. Keon Coleman dropped a beautiful pass that Allen laid right into his hands, and he dropped it. It would have been about a 60-yard game. He did have 3 receptions for 51 yards. Allen said that after the game, "I'm glad this happened early in the season so we can correct things." Well, they have a lot to correct. They only had 237 total yards. They had the ball for 28 minutes. They only converted on 3 of 13 third downs. They had 12 first downs. They only had 4 penalties, so that was a plus for them. On the ranks, I would say the Bills. This is the first time they've lost a game by more than 7 points since back in 2021, November 21. So that's pretty impressive. But they got blown out in this game. I would give McDermott. I think I'd give him an F in coaching on this game. He knew what was coming. They couldn't stop it. The offense and defense, or the offensive line, the Ravens had 3 sacks, 10 pressures. And on defense, where was Von Miller? I never heard his name mentioned all night. The Bills lack a consistent downfield passing game. Coleman had that terrible drop. Kincaid had a drop that killed the first drive. Allen did not produce a TD, either running or passing. The Bills' run defense, I give them an F. I mentioned the stats. I think my take is the Bills have been exposed. They're not the powerhouse we thought they were.
I'm not saying they're exposed, because one game, yeah, you could say they got absolutely smothered, but then again, it's one game. This was easily the hardest opponent the Bills have played all season. When you go up against Jacksonville, who can't score on offense, and when you go up against teams like Arizona, was probably the closest game they ever had to play, because they were up 17, I think, 17-3 or 17-7 early in that game. Josh Allen had become Superman and then come back and win that game. They also played Miami when Tua does not perform very well, and then they ended up getting concussed, and they get Skylar Thompson the rest of the way. When it comes to this game, though, I'm not here to make excuses. I'm not here to say, but the Bills, no. This show is based around context and honesty, and that's what I will maintain the integrity of. The Ravens beat the crap out of the Bills. There's no other way to put it. When you open the game up with an 87-yard rushing touchdown, and there's literally nobody that can reach Derrick Henry when he's going downhill like that, there is no other way to put it. The Bills got absolutely crapped all over. The Ravens had every answer in the book for what the Bills tried to do. Because what we've seen with the Joe Brady offense is that they want to be a lot more running, a lot more balanced with a lean to the run game a little bit. Take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands, make the run game more efficient, use Josh Allen in an efficiency standpoint where he's only needing to make the throws that he has to. Also a little bit of dink and dunk with occasional intermediate throws, and the Ravens completely took that away. Kyle Hamilton rushed defense early on, getting some run stops, getting some pressures. Kyle Van Noy has had a phenomenal season so far. He's been all over the field, and in this game, he showed himself with a forced fumble. I think he had 4 pressures in this game. He had a couple of sacks as well. He did an incredible job. The Ravens played extremely well. The Bills definitely were outcoached. They were completely outplayed. But let's be honest here. Especially we, and me in particular, what have we been talking about when it came to this Ravens team? What is their identity? Because they opened last season with more effective passing game. That's what they focused on. And against a pretty bad Chiefs rush defense, they really only passed it from the pocket, and they ended up losing. Coming into this season, we didn't know, because it was like, okay, well, the offensive line's not great. They couldn't run against the Chiefs. What exactly are they going to do? And then against the Cowboys, a very bad rush defense, they ran all over the place and they dominated until the fourth quarter, where some repeated situations, like giving up double-digit fourth-quarter leads, that almost came into play in that game, but fortunately it didn't. But this is the way to win. This is the way the Baltimore Ravens need to play the rest of the season. Let Derrick Henry run it 20-plus times. I understand John Harbaugh said, well, we didn't get Derrick Henry to run it 30 times. No, but 20 works perfectly fine, because in Derrick Henry's career, he is a volume runner. The more he runs, the more effective he will be, because these are the numbers for his entire career. If Derrick Henry runs 20 or more times, he is an incredible running back. He's 35-10. When he runs 20 or more times, his team wins 35 out of 45 times. 126 yards per game in those games. 4.9 yards a carry. 4.9 yards, basically 5 yards a carry on 20-plus attempts is incredible. 51 touchdowns in those games. So over a touchdown a game. Success rate 50.6. Their teams in those games win by an average margin of over 10 points. Double-digit victories here. Derrick Henry is the key to the Ravens' success. Now, the major question, and yes, I will give the Ravens their flowers for this game. There's no excuses that need to be made. There's nothing I can really complain about. The Bills got out-coached. The only thing I'll say is you go for it on 4th and 1 early in the game when the score is 0-0 on your own 39-yard line, and it's successful. When you're down 14-3 on the 39-yard line, go for it again. Why change it based on just the score? You need to score points. You're down by 11 points. Maintain the aggressiveness. Sean McDermott played it safe, and lo and behold, he paid the price for it. You lost 35-10. But okay, great win. I'll say, phenomenal win. Where do I want to see it, though? The one place Lamar Jackson has never found real success. January. Do it in the playoffs. Do it when it matters most.
Oh, we got a long way to go to get to there.
I understand. Great win. Phenomenal win. They played extremely well. The defense was on point. Offensive line held up. The Bills could not pressure Lamar Jackson. The receivers were wide open. Tight window percentage. Next-gen stats. He was the only quarterback to have 0 throws in tight windows. Everybody was wide open. Led this week in average separation. The Bills the coverage defense just was non-existent in this game. I'm giving them their flowers.
Yeah.
Do it when it matters, though. Put up this type of performance in the playoffs. That's all I'm asking for. Yeah, the Ravens do extremely well, and Lamar plays like an MVP in the regular season.
I think
I have nothing against him.
I think they have a better chance to make that kind of performance this year with Derrick Henry. As long as he's healthy.
That.
He may be beat up by then. I don't know. That's a long way to go.
Well, if you're running 27 miles an hour downhill, 27 is extremely fast.
Yeah.
But, anyway, he's 30 years old, big guy, heavy running back. He should be a 20 carry a game, I would say most nights.
He's the best value per carry of any running back in the league.
He's making $9 million this year.
$9 million bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, congratulations to the Ravens. There's no excuses that need to be made. All I'm saying is Lamar played great. He played into the system. The system was heavy run, Lamar Jackson scramble. Hey, by the way, he ran play action, I think, according to Pro Football Focus, 60% of the time. That's how effective the running game was. You could run play action 60% of the time.
As long as their running games going like that, they're going to be unbeatable.
I completely agree. And I just want to say, you picked the Ravens.
I did.
It was a great pick for you. The reason I picked the Bills they were the best team in the NFL, and Josh Allen was the best quarterback at that current time.
That's why I say they were exposed.
They
didn't look. They didn't look like the best team at all.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
You look at the stats and how they played. They were behind, and at the end of the first half, 21-3.
Yeah.
The game was kind of over by then, I thought.
No, there were some very weird coaching mistakes that Sean McDermott made. Very conservative on some of the play calls. The offensive line of the Bills did a bad job protecting Josh Allen. It was a great performance of the Ravens. Had their number, drew it up beautifully, and executed it basically to perfection. There was touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. It was a sight to see. It sucked for me because I picked the Bills, but hey, I'm still thinking the Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL still. Josh Allen is still Superman when he needs to be. Did he have one bad game? All great quarterbacks have one bad game. We've seen Mahomes play terrible this entire year, and they're 4-0.
Yeah, well, the Bills have the Texans next week, and the Ravens have Cincinnati. Those will be interesting games.
I think the Cincinnati one, I'm taking Baltimore all the way. Cincinnati doesn't have a defense.
Cincinnati will be in terrible shape if that happens, man. They'll be 1-4.
Yeah, no, it's not looking good for Joe Burrow. But, congratulations to the Baltimore Ravens. It was a phenomenal win. You move now to 2-2, while the Buffalo Bills dropped to 3-1, still leading the AFC East because that AFC East
looking weak.
It looks pretty poor. A lot of divisions are looking shockingly poor. The Chiefs are 4-0, and we're going to talk about them next, actually. But they're not playing well. So let's actually move into that topic because the Kansas City Chiefs are now 4-0, while the Los Angeles Chargers lose their second straight game in the 17-10 loss to the Chiefs, which is their 11th straight home loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. But there's a little bit of an issue because currently Rashee Rice, it's feared that he's torn his ACL. Reports won't be in until next week when they finish out their entire testing. But as it currently stands, the fear still is that Rashee Rice has torn his ACL. Nothing confirmed, but we'll wait and see. Chargers scored 10 points very early on, all in the first quarter, didn't score a single time the rest of the game. And that was off an interception from Mahomes and a fumble. So who knows what the Chargers are going to look like moving forward. They are banged up, but I want to know how big of a loss could this be for the Kansas City Chiefs if Rashee Rice did indeed tear his ACL?
I think that's pretty big. He's been a big player for them so far this year. He's kind of the guy down the middle there. They saw him the 10, 12-yard pass, and he's very good at that. He's been very reliable, much better than last year. He's grown a lot. Their receiving core, I think, a little thin if they lose him. They have to rely more on Kelsey, and they have to rely more on Worthy. And Worthy looks good. He looks good, but he's the guy that's going to be the deep ball, the speed burner. And that he's not really the dink and dunk kind of guy. I think that's what Rice is specialized in. So, yeah, if he's out, I think that's a problem. I mean, they'll have to go to Juju Smith-Schuster, and we've seen what he can do in the last couple of years. He's really seemed to have lost a lot. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll be in the hunt for Devontae Adams, right? It sounds like there's a rumor that he might be on the trading block here. Maybe they would step up and get him, but he's going to command a lot of money, so I don't know. We'll see. But my two takeaways, again, from this game. The Chargers, as you mentioned, they lost 17-10. It's their second straight loss. Their sixth straight loss to the Chiefs, 11th straight home loss when the Chiefs are playing at home to the Chiefs. So they have a very poor record against the Chiefs. Their offensive struggles offset what I thought was a very strong defensive performance. The Chargers scored 10 points early, but never scored again. And they had too many penalties. The defense was without Bosa and James, which is big, right? But they held the Chiefs to 10 points until a score late in the middle of the fourth quarter. The O-line has had two injuries too, Slater and Alt. Herbert was pressured all day long, 1 for 5 in the fourth quarter, 16 of 27, 179 yards, 1 TD. And he's banged up too. He's got the high ankle sprain. The Dobbins, their running back, only had 30 yards on 14 carries. I don't think this loss defines the Chargers because of those injuries, particularly on offense and defense. They get those guys healthy. I think that to play the Chiefs this close is only a 1 touchdown loss, and it was tied till the middle of the fourth quarter. And I think there was a coaching mistake by Harbaugh there when the Chiefs were down there the Chargers were down there on the third 3-yard line, and they went for it on fourth down and didn't get it. And the Chiefs then took over, changed the momentum of the game, went right down the field and scored that touchdown to put themselves ahead by a touchdown. A field goal, it was tied at the time. A field goal would have put them up by 3. It could have been a different game. I think I really think that was a mistake. I would have kicked the field goal. On the other side of the ball, the defining thing for the Chiefs, I think they continue to show the heart of a champion, and they did it again on Sunday. They now have 10 straight wins dating back to last year. They started out terrible. They had 2 turnovers on their first 2 possessions. They got down 10-0. Mahomes, 19 of 29, 245, 1 TD, 1 interception. He really has not looked great this year, but he's playing winning football. They're winning these games. Hunt, they brought back Kareem Hunt. He had 14 rushes for 69 yards. Kelsey stepping up when Rice got hurt. He had 7 for 89. He passed Tony Gonzalez for the most receptions in franchise history for the Chiefs. Worthy, I think he's a guy that's going to keep getting better and better. He's looking more and more like the second coming of Tyreek Hill for Kansas City at 54 yards and a TD catch. They're the third team to start 4-0 after being down a TD in each game. So I for the Chargers, I said the offense struggles offset a strong defensive game, and for the Chiefs, they continue to show the heart of a champion. Even though they get behind, they come back and find a way to win, even though they don't playing their best football. If they ever get to playing their best football, look out.
Well, what is their best football? Because what we've seen from the past couple years of the Chiefs is it's just late game Mahomes magic. That's their best. Is it Travis Kelce catching 12 balls for over 100 yards? We just saw a little glimpse of what Travis Kelce still is in this game, but is it Xavier Worthy now instead of Tyreek Hill going 75 yards? I think the Chiefs are when they're at their best when Mahomes is dinking and dunking because that's what's happened the past couple years. And what have you seen the last couple years? Mahomes and Andy Reid and the rest of the Chiefs lifting up a Lombardi trophy. Yeah. So the way they've kind of been playing is what their best is. Yes, they were extremely flashy and they look great with Tyreek Hill and the bombs, but really they're kind of doing the Patriot thing. It's a better look, it's more fun, but it's the Patriots. They're taking the easy way, dink and dunk. How big of a concern would this be for the Chiefs? I think my answer might shock a couple people. I'm not concerned at all. Not an ounce. Because what we saw last year was Mahomes have arguably the worst receiver core last year, and he lifted up a Lombardi against one of the better defenses, if not the best defense in the NFL last season, the San Francisco 49ers. But I also think that there's an opportunity for the Chiefs to capitalize on a potential available wide receiver. I think Davante Adams is going to the Chiefs. Because I don't think he's going to go to another bum team, and I think the way the Jets are looking, the Jets kind of look like the same old Jets. How do you lose to Bo Nix when he throws for 60 yards? I don't know. Rodgers does not look the same as he did during his MVP run, but I think that's expected because he's not aging gracefully like Tom Brady did. And I think there could be a potential struggle between Robert Saleh and Rodgers, as we've seen in just their mannerisms in the post-game conference. But I do think that Davante Adams, he's looking at the Chiefs. I think the way that the Raiders are now shopping him after Davante Adams says, I want to stay in Las Vegas, I trust words and actions. What Davante Adams had an issue with last year that we saw on the receiver show is that he had a problem with Jimmy Garoppolo at the quarterback. He was actually the reason why Garoppolo got benched. So I'm going over what has happened in recent history. Davante Adams got a quarterback benched. Now Antonio Pierce is saying that people made business decisions. And now supposedly Antonio Pierce liked a Sports Illustrated Instagram post of someone saying that Davante played his last snap with Las Vegas. Could he fat finger it? I'm not entirely sure. Is he trolling? Maybe. But now, all of a sudden, a day after that comes out, now the Raiders are supposedly shopping and potentially opening up calls for Davante Adams. I think there's a serious shot. And I think the Chiefs should capitalize because it gives you just another receiver. Because if we take a look at their losses so far, Hollywood Brown's out for basically the entire season, the entire regular season at least. And now if it comes out that Rashee Rice tore his ACL, he'll be done for the year. You also have Pacheco out for a number of weeks. Travis Kelce, while we just saw what he could be, what we've seen recently is slow start. Maybe he'll get into it as the season goes on. But I think when it comes down to this game, it's the classic Chiefs game. Defense, low scoring, late drive, touchdown, and then when it matters the most, it's either Mahomes makes a great play or Chris Jones makes a great play. It's never the Chiefs just blow him out because we've seen so many close games where it comes down to a penalty or just one really phenomenal play by one particular person on either side of the ball for the Chiefs. So I'm not worried at all. What I would be concerned with is that if they go up against a team that's not completely banged up like the Chargers were, if they don't have a major deficiency in their offensive line like the Ravens do, if they play a healthy team, what would happen? Because Mahomes has thrown an interception in basically every single one of these games. He has not played very well, but they keep winning. I'm saying, what happens if a team finally catches on and they don't choke, where you don't get a defensive pass interference call when it's 4th and 16? What happens with that? What happens when your offensive line doesn't have a rookie at right tackle and just a bad right guard, and Chris Jones can't just barrel through two guys? That's what I'm wondering. What happens if you don't go up against a team that has their two left and right tackles, they're both injured, and the best pass rusher on your team banged up, and your best safety banged up? When it comes to the Chargers, though, defensively, having those two guys out, defensively, Derwin James and Joey Bosa, and still only allowing 17 points, that's to be commended, because if this was Brandon Staley's defense, they would have gotten blown out. There's already a massive change when it comes to the Chargers, and that's just it. First of all, it's culture. That's the major thing. There's a culture shift in Los Angeles. I think the second thing would be the dynamics of how this team works is different. What we see on paper is now actually being put on the field, where it's, we look at all these big-time, big-name players, how they perform under Brandon Staley. It's like, why are you so disappointing? You're giving up the most yards, the most points in the first 4 years of a quarterback's career, while he's scoring the most points in the first 4 years of somebody's career. That doesn't work. When it comes to Jim Harbaugh now, it's like, okay, now we're actually giving our quarterback an opportunity, except when your two tackles are injured. Then there's a serious problem. So I was impressed with the Chargers defense, disappointed in the result, but I have no problem with the Chiefs if they indeed lose Rashee Rice to a torn ACL, because they'll just do what they always do. Dink and dunk. I think it'll be little to no mistakes from Mahomes. When it matters, he'll make no mistakes whatsoever. Late game penalties just come with the Chiefs. It's part of the package deal when you play the Chiefs.
That benefit them, the penalties. Yeah.
I would say so, yeah. Just late game penalty. Honestly, we take a look at some of these games. Mahomes kind of influences the penalties. Not in the sense of the refs are cheating. You throw it 4th and 16 high. against the Bengals. You're basically hoping there's a DPI. That's not for a completion, because that's a very, very difficult catch to make. And there was a DPI there.
No, the defensive player there made a huge mistake.
That's what I'm saying. You're enticing the other team to make.
He tried to intercept it. He just had to push it away. It was 4th down.
Right. You're enticing the team to make a mistake. You're saying, here, I'm going to throw it this way. You screw up. And then so far, that's happened a number of times. Yeah. So I'm not worried at all. The Chiefs will be the Chiefs. They'll have a great run, great defense, great coaching. They have the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
I forgot they have Hardman, too. He hasn't played hardly at all yet. He's a backup receiver that won the winning Super Bowl touchdown.
Right. Yeah, on the little option play.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this also. In order for the Chargers to have success, obviously they're going to need to get healthy. But you also can't have Justin Herbert out there with a high ankle sprain that he re-aggravated the prior week, and then have your offensive line in the fourth quarter. You can't have your offensive line give up 6 of 8 pressures. He was pressured on 6 of 8 of his fourth quarter dropbacks. You can't allow that to happen. When it matters most, you need to come up strong, and if you're out down your 2 tackles against Chris Jones, against that great defense, I mean, for a large part of the game, nobody was open. The running game was basically nothing. It was nothing. J.K. Dobbins had no openings. Gus Edwards was rendered ineffective. The touchdown to McConkey, that was just I'm throwing it in his vicinity. I hope he gets open, and I hope he catches it. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, McConkey could be an interesting prospect to look at to grow with Justin Herbert, but as it stands, you need to get healthy. That's one of the problems with the Chargers.
Yeah.
Offensive line gets banged up.
I think if they get healthy, I picked them to get into the playoffs. I think they still could do it.
I think there is an opportunity, but health will be a major concern. Luckily, though, I don't know if last week I would have played Justin Herbert, because this week you just played the Chiefs. I maybe would have sat him. He ended up re-aggravating his high ankle sprain, so we'll see how he feels moving forward. Let's take a break. But coming up, Nick Sirianni, his seat is now on fire. There was love all over his seat after getting absolutely blown out by Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as well as we have some breaking news that happened on Friday. Karl-Anthony Towns is on the move to the New York Knicks. We'll break that down and say whether or not the Knicks made a good decision in trading for Cat. We'll talk about that right after this break.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance, and why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show. So, the Eagles got absolutely curb stomped by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a 33-16 loss. At one point, about midway through the second quarter, they had a total of 0 yards compared to the Buccaneers' 255, as well as being down 24-0. A very embarrassing performance for a team that actually the defense stepped up last week against the New Orleans Saints, took care of them. But in this game, more problems arose in the sense of their defense not playing well and Jalen Hurts definitely not showing his potential MVP self that he's shown in the past. And especially, this does not look like a team that is headed to the Super Bowl anytime soon. But I want to know, how bad or how surprised are you that the Eagles have looked so bad with the amount of talent that they have had, as well as coaching moves as well? They're supposed to be upgrading their position coaches that they had last year.
Well, they did, but they were without their 2 best wide receivers, right? Brown and Smith were both out of this game. So maybe you give them a little bit of a break on that. But my takeaways on this game for the Eagles, they just weren't ready to play. I'm sorry. They were never really in the game. And they made multiple mistakes when they had a chance to get back in the game. They were behind by 24-7 at halftime. I mean, the game was basically over. Hurts, 18 of 30, 158 yards, 1 TD. Barkley, you've had a decent game. Barkley's their best player. 10 rushes, 84 yards. Hurts had rushed 8 times for 20 yards, had a TD, and Goddard had 7 receptions for 62 yards. I'd say the Eagles' offense, they got off to a terrible start. The top receivers were out. Hurts, he turns it over in the red zone too much. Again, he did it this time in this game too with a strip. That's his 7th turnover of the season so far. 4 interceptions, 3 lost fumbles. 27 turnovers since the start of last season. 19 interceptions, 8 fumbles. That's a problem. They got to do something about that. They had the Bucs had Philly's defense on its heels the whole game. The defense, generally a strength of the Eagles, was never in the game, and they were pretty healthy. I don't know what the problem was there. I guess they just got worn down. They were in there 25 of the first 38 minutes in high heat and humidity. Maybe they just couldn't take it down south. It's too hot for them. They did have a block extra point return for 2 points, which I'd never seen. I don't think I'd ever seen that happen before, and that was a surprise. So, I mean, I think you're right. Sirianni's on the hot seat. He didn't have his team ready to play, even with those 2 receivers missing. They have a really good running back. They didn't get it to Saquon Barkley enough, and Hurts just not playing well. I mean, they're turning the ball over in the red zone. He continues to do that. So that's my takeaway for the Eagles. They just weren't ready to play. On the Bucs, on the other hand, who are the Bucs? Who are they?
That's a good
question. Are they
question.
the team that dominated the Eagles, or are they the team that lost to the Broncos? I say the Bucs. They kind of go as Baker Mayfield goes. When he's good, they win. When he's not, they lose. And he was good on Sunday, man. 30 of 47, 347 yards, 2 DDs, total yards for the team 445 compared to 227 for the Eagles. He spread the ball around. Irving, on the running. Irving 10 carries, 49 yards. White 10 carries for 49 yards. Irving had a TD. Evans had 8 receptions for 94 yards and a TD. Godwin had 6 for 69. The time of possession 36 minutes for the Eagles. I mean for the Bucs. They looked really good out there. Mayfield. The interesting thing in the game, they said Mayfield was quoted as saying, "I wanted to bring joy back to football." So guys who weren't having for the guys that weren't having as much fun, and that's just right after Tom Brady had gotten a standing ovation that the other announcer brought this up. Brady, he came back with a great quote. He said, "I thought stressful was not having Super Bowl rings." So there was a mindset when I came of a champion that I took to work every day. This wasn't daycare. If I wanted to have fun, I was going to go to Disneyland with my kids. So I thought he had a great answer to that. And I think he's doing a very good job as an announcer.
You do.
Yep.
Well, I think that there were definitely some growing pains early because first job as an announcer, you're making, 10 years for $375 million. A lot of pressure on you for your first announcing job. So he didn't start off great, and that was the Cleveland and Dallas game, which ended up being an okay game. A lot of kicks, a lot of field goals with that game. But in this game, you're right. There is a massive question. What are the Buccaneers? Are they run heavy? They can't run the ball. They haven't been able to run the ball for a number of years. Are they Baker Mayfield pass happy? Well, it looks like that because they can't run the ball very. This is probably their most efficient game because, like you mentioned, each running back had 10 carries for 49 yards each. That's pretty impressive, actually, for Rachaad White, who's had some very bad games rushing. I think the story is the Philadelphia Eagles because what are they? That's the major question. What are they? Are they Jalen Hurts reliant? Are they Saquon Barkley reliant? Are they a defensive team They have a lot of big-name players on both sides of the ball, but what are they? And I think one of the most important questions is, their head coach, what does he do? Does he call defensive plays? No. Does he call offensive plays? No. So what does he do? If he's supposed to be a team builder and a character builder, well, we've heard recent reports of players initiating, like in the locker room, the talk. The talk in the locker room. It's not Nick Sirianni. How are you building up character when your players are taking over post-game? So what does Nick Sirianni do besides be out there and kind of struggle in late-game situations, struggle in figuring out what works best? Because this just looks like a guy who's completely over his skis when it comes to this job. Because it doesn't look like he's ready to coach. Yes, he did lead his team to a Super Bowl, but now as we get past one particular coach in Shane Steichen, Jalen Hurts' turnovers have skyrocketed. His consistent play has plummeted. And I think when it comes down to it, what we're going to hear in a second is, I don't think Jalen Hurts trusts Nick Sirianni anymore. This was post-game when Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts each talking about this performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where they fell 33-16. Take a listen.
I'd say we didn't coach well enough, we didn't play well enough, and that's always going to start with me. If we go out there and lay an egg and we're down 24-0, that's going to start on me. I didn't have the guys ready to start.
We got to play better. We have a ton of opportunities to lead the offense and really play complementary ball, and it starts with me on that side of the ball. And I would get down like we did. We got to help. I have to help the defense out, executing, communicating. The things that I'm seeing on the field, and just trying to really create the momentum that we need just to get in the end zone. It starts with me in terms of getting in the end zone and leading drives, and I didn't do a good enough job with that.
You and Nick are obviously big voices on the team as the head coach and the quarterback. As you enter the bye and you want to find an identity, do you two talk about maybe what you want the message to be to the team, or how you kind of want to handle as you guys go into the second part of the year?
We have our moments.
That's it right there. We have our moments. Nothing to be said. Just very stern face. Answer the very brief answer. We have our moments. I think there is maybe a lack of trust. It might even go to a lack of respect from Jalen Hurts to Nick Sirianni. And we already know that relationship was fractured last season.
Year, yeah.
Completely fractured.
Yep.
And I think it started off with Nick Sirianni going kind of overboard in their win against Kansas City during the regular season, where he's kind of saying like F you Kansas City and stuff like that because they end up losing to them in the Super Bowl. And I think that's where it really started, where it's like, okay, tone down the emotion. It's a regular season game, and then they go on that massive losing streak towards the end of the year and get absolutely blown out by the Buccaneers in the playoff game. So I think there's a coaching issue, because think about this. The Eagles are outgained by 218 yards. That's their biggest yardage margin against them in 6 years. 6 years. That's how big this has gotten so far. The defense has been that bad. Jalen Hurts got sacked 6 times, which is tied for the most of his career. And they gave up 3.2 yards per pass attempt. Or they had 3.2 yards per pass attempt. Second worst in 15 years. The offense is... And by the way, I'm not putting this all on coaching. Jalen Hurts also needs to step up. There are plays that need to be made in this game. The first play from the Eagles. Saquon Barkley, a little bit late, breaks open. He's wide open. Jalen Hurts moves to his right, completely misses him. There were a number of throws that were made, or rather tried to be made, that Jalen Hurts overthrew, underthrew, far right, it was just a bad performance through and through. And this
Plus, he's turning the ball over.
Right, and that's the icing on the cake right there.
He's a $50 million quarterback.
He is.
He's out there dissing his head coach in the post game. Come on, we have our moments. He had to step up, man. The team gave him a $50 million a year contract, and he's out there playing. What's his quarterback rating? He must be down the list there. Down in the 20s somewhere.
And in this game, you're talking about QBR. He's 11th currently in QBR.
Oh yeah,
61.4.
Yeah, wow.
Because if you're talking about passer rating, it's bad. Passer rating this season, he's an 85.7.
Yeah, that's not $50 million a year, my friend.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, he's not playing well. But
the mistakes you make in this red zone, when you're down in the red zone, you can always kick a field goal. You get 3 points
don't give
for
the
a field
ball
goal.
away.
Don't give the ball away.
Right.
And get nothing.
And
give the other team the momentum,
and
give the other team the momentum to go down and score. He's playing terrible. I really think that I put quite a bit of the blame on him. Although Sirianni, I agree, he's on the hot seat. They're lucky to be in their division right now, which we thought was one of the stronger ones in the league. But now the Commanders they're in command. They're at 3-1. The Eagles at 2-2. Dallas at 2-2. The Giants at 1-3. The Eagles, they're lucky in a way. I mean, they may be able to turn this around. They get their two best wide receivers back. That's going to help them some. They need to play better on defense.
I think that's also a big part of it because you could bring up the injuries. Oh, they were down A.J. Brown. They were down Devontae Smith. They were down Lane Johnson. Yeah, they were. But even when those guys are out there, we're seeing the same performance from Jalen Hurts. We're seeing the same performance from the defense where it's just, in large part, it's embarrassing. They had one good game defensively. So you could say, okay, they had one good game. They could have these types of moments, but to rely on them on a consistent basis, it's like, no, you can't. That's just the way it is. You went from Sean Desai to Matt Patricia, and now you have Vic Fangio, which was supposed to be an upgrade, and now it just looks like it's the same old, same old. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward, but I do think one of two coaches will be fired a little bit after the bye week. I wouldn't be surprised if one gets fired within the next couple weeks.
Oh, yeah?
Doug Peterson, because the Jaguars look terrible, and Nick Sirianni. Those two coaches are on a
Jaguars,
fiery season.
It's not only this season. They lost their last...
I think it's 9 games now.
Now 9 games in a row they've lost.
Might be even worse than that.
Yeah.
But since Trevor Lawrence started to get banged up and the things started to unravel, and even in this season, the offense, it's a pain to watch.
What do you think? Belichick have a chance?
I heard something recently. It's not confirmed or speculation. It was just a thought. You get rid of Kellen Moore. Belichick comes in, brings Josh McDaniels with him, his favorite offensive coordinator. I think it could be something.
Yeah.
Although, why would you want to go to a team that just beat you recently in a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback?
Hey, Belichick needs a job. He didn't.
I don't
get
think
one
he needs a
last
job.
year.
He's doing a lot of media stuff.
Yeah, but he wants to be back in coaching.
Oh, absolutely.
I think
when
Eagles,
you're great at something, why stop?
The Eagles have some quality players. They need somebody like him to whip him into shape.
And they have Howie Roseman, who will spend the money to go out and get good players, which Belichick was very not enthusiastic about doing because he really never did it.
Yeah.
So as long as, once again, I had no problem with Belichick, the head coach. Best head coach in the NFL. I had a problem with Belichick, the GM, because that side of him was awful.
Yeah.
Look at the Patriots now. 95% of the people out there are Belichick picks, additions,
I don't know
acquisitions.
what's happened with the defense for the Patriots.
Defense isn't good anymore. Defensive line's not great.
I'm surprised that
Christian Gonzalez is playing well.
Good the first couple of games, and now they haven't been good the last 2 weeks.
I think it's the competition they're playing.
Yeah, could be.
It's tough. All right, let's get into some NBA action because there's some breaking news on Friday. The New York Knicks, I think in this case, you could say that this is a swing for the fences when it comes to them because they ended up acquiring Karl-Anthony Towns in a pretty big blockbuster trade. Let's bring up the trade right now. This is what it looks like. So the Timberwolves get Donte DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, and a 2025 first-round pick. Bates Diop, if I'm pronouncing the name right, he was just kind of a contractual piece they need to get rid of to clear cap space. While the Knicks received Karl-Anthony Towns, and then the Hornets in a 3-team trade to make this work got Daquan Jeffries. So there it is. Essentially, the trade is for Karl-Anthony Towns to the Knicks, while the Timberwolves get Donte DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, and a 2025 first-round pick, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is top 13 protected. I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me. I'm pretty sure. So there's an opportunity for that actually to go in the Knicks' favor. But I don't know, though. Does this trade, or first of all, bad or good move for the New York Knicks, and does this trade make them the biggest threat in the Eastern Conference?
I think it's a fabulous move. I really applaud the Knicks front office. They've really changed it around now. They're making very good decisions. They built what looks like a fantastic team. I think it does change the balance in the Eastern Division a little bit. I think it's really the Celtics and the Knicks now. They're the top two teams. 76ers there. They're going to be competitive too, but they really don't. They added Paul George, so they got 3 good players too, and Maxey and
Embiid.
Embiid, yeah. So I think those are and you've got Milwaukee as well, but Milwaukee is kind of faded now, even with Giannis out there. So I think the Knicks really this was a blockbuster trade. I think that Julius Randle for them, he got hurt. He didn't play well in the playoffs when he was in the playoffs. He was playing hurt. He didn't even play in the playoffs this year. He had that shoulder surgery. We're not sure what he was going to be coming back. DiVincenzo, a nice player for the Knicks, a Villanova guy. They actually had 4 Villanova starters now if they'd hung on to DiVincenzo, but now he's gone. I kind of sorry to see him go. Losing a first-round draft pick, so what? They got about a dozen of them, so I don't think that's a big loss. And to pick up a player like Karl-Anthony Towns, who in last year he averaged almost 22 points a game. He had 8 rebounds, had 3 assists. His shooting percentage over 50%. He's a 4-time All-Star, 10 seasons, so he's a veteran. For his career, he's played in 573 games, averaging 34 minutes a game, almost 23 points a game, almost a little over 52% field goal percentage. His 3-point percentage, 40%. That's excellent. Almost 11 rebounds a game, 3.2 assists a game, and even almost 1 steal a game. So I think that putting him in there, and that's the one position that the Knicks are weak on. They lost Hartenstein. Mitch
Robinson?
Mitch Robinson.
Yeah.
He's had some injury issues. If he can get healthy, he'd be an excellent backup to Towns. I really think that this is an excellent trade. I think that it caught Anthony Towns by surprise. He posted an ellipsis on X without a single word.
Yeah.
I think he'd been out there commenting, "Wow, we're going to be great this year. I'm looking forward to playing with these teammates. It's a great team and all that." And then suddenly he gets traded. I think it caught him by surprise. He's coming back to New Jersey where he grew up, so that's a positive for him. He's played for 5 different head coaches. He has had the injury bug once in a while. He strained his calf, limited him to 29 games in 2022 and 23. He's reuniting with Tom Thibodeau, who he played for 2.5 years. The Timberwolves avoid the second apron, which is a problem, which would have been a problem for them. Their ownership is somewhat in flux. I think that for Towns, he may have been surprised, but I think overall it's going to be good for him. He can go back to being a center. And Robinson's going to be out for a couple of months with that ankle surgery. And the Knicks address their only position of weakness. So I give them A+ on this.
I would agree on a lot of it. And I think because when this broke, I was talking to a couple of Knicks fans, very, very close friends of mine, and they were both surprised. And the one part of this, they at least one of them was shocked by, said, why are they going to get rid of DiVincenzo? Why DiVincenzo? He's a 40% shooter from 3. Great guy, had a very clutch 3-pointer late against Philly that actually ended up allowing the Knicks to win in that particular game. But it was actually, according to a report, DiVincenzo was not happy with the fact that he would be relegated to the bench with the amount of moves they made, because they just got Mikal Bridges, so there was a high likelihood that it would be Brunson Bridges as the guard spot, leaving Hart and OG or even Precious Achiuwa in there at the forward position, and leave DiVincenzo to the bench. So this was just, he would have been upset with his minutes. It had nothing to do, with the Nova group. He didn't really care for that, supposedly. So that's why DiVincenzo had to be a part of that trade. When it comes to the Knicks part of this, though, and the question at hand, where it's, are they now the biggest threat in the Eastern Conference? Let's go with how good the trade was. I agree. This trade was very, very good because it did target one of the most crucial needs that the Knicks had. A center, a big man. Especially because Mitch Robinson is going to miss the opening of the season. So they needed some form of big man to be out there, and I don't think Julius Randle would have been that type of guy. They would have needed to put him at the center position, and then put Precious Achiuwa at the center position and see if that would work for the foreseeable future. So getting Karl-Anthony Towns, you secure a big man, and not only that, it allows for the one thing that the Knicks haven't really been able to do, because their big man for large parts of it, whether it be Hartenstein or for large parts Mitch Robinson, was the amount of spacing. Now you have a center who shot 40% from 3-point land last season. So in order to create that spacing, it now allows more drives, more kickouts. Big men are going to need to step up now, which frees up the paint. You can get more rebounds if you have both Mitch Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns out there, which that would be something. Mitch Robinson, a great offensive rebounder, and Karl-Anthony Towns could stay on the outside, drawing that big man away from the middle, give Mitch Robinson a higher likelihood to get the offensive rebound. I think this is a great acquisition for the Knicks. It's 100% the best move they could have possibly made, and what I teased earlier on in the show was that this has been sort of rumored and reported for now over a year. I saw an article recently, back in January or even February, there was talks of Karl-Anthony Towns going over to the New York Knicks. Now, there was a reporter out there that made it abundantly clear. Cat never asked for a trade, never asked to be moved, was not displeased with the Minnesota Timberwolves. This was all just something that owners decided to do, and I think it could be in large part due to that second apron. You needed to get off a massive contract. So I think when it comes down to, and this is going to come to you now because Celtics fan for basically forever, you picked them to win last year. I had the Knicks going far. I didn't say they win. I did end up picking the Dallas Mavericks to win, which was a massive mistake on my part. I think this does make the Knicks probably, if they weren't already the biggest threat to the Celtics before Cat, this 100%, I think solidifies, everybody needs to stay healthy, of course, solidifies the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. At least the number 2.
Yeah.
Because what the Knicks have now is exactly what matches up beautifully with the Boston Celtics. You have your wing defenders. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are now going to need to go up against Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. They match up pretty nicely together. As well as both those guys could shoot, I would say, pretty efficiently. Then really it's the battle of the guards. If you include Mikal Bridges there would be Mikal Bridges and Jalen Brunson against Derek White and Drew Holiday. Now you would think, okay, the Celtics have the defensive side. The Knicks have the offensive side. So it really depends on who's getting the upper hand in the matchups. And then it's the battle of the big men. Let's say Kristaps Porzingis is out there.
He's out till December.
Right, but I'm saying let's say he's out there. By the way, they do open up the season playing the Boston Celtics. So we will be seeing this immediately.
Yeah.
But right now, what's interesting, the big man battle. This is the interesting part. Who's going to play the power forward position? Because as ESPN currently has it, Josh Hart is the current power forward for the New York Knicks. In my opinion.
It's a little small for that.
I agree. But in my opinion, because Mitch is out for the foreseeable future, I would put in Precious Achiuwa. That's what I would do. I would go Brunson, Bridges, OG, Achiuwa, Cat. That would be my starting 5 there. And I think that matches up pretty nicely with the Celtics. And you're playing them in game 1. If the Knicks go out here and blow the Celtics out, I think we could see a serious chance. I know it's crazy to say now, and it's definitely way too premature for this. I already believed in the deep playoff run last year, and that's with Randle hurt. That's with Mitch Robinson hurt. I still believed in it, and they almost proved me right until everybody started getting hurt.
Yeah.
If this team can stay healthy, why can't they be better than the Celtics? Why can't they take the number 1 spot in the Eastern Conference?
Well, I think they have the talent to compete for a championship now. Definitely. They've got the talent on that team. The depth, I don't know. Who they got left on the bench?
Deuce McBride, Josh Hart, depending on how you figure out the rotation. Josh Hart, Precious Achiuwa, Mitch Robinson. They also picked up Cameron Payne, Landry Shamet as well. They have a couple rookies out there that I really like too. Kolek, I think, will be a great guy. Assist guy, I think he's going to be very, very good distributing the ball. Defense needs a little bit of work, but it's rookies and kind of just passed around the league, guys. Campaign's been all over the place.
One thing is the chemistry, right? Bridges and Towns coming in, they haven't played together. Might take them a little time to get that worked out. On the Celtics side, they have the injury to Porzingis. He's not going to be available till December.
Reportedly.
That's going to put more pressure on the other players, particularly the other center for the Celtics.
Was Al Horford?
Al Horford, yeah. So it's going to be. I think it's going to be a great NBA season. I'm looking forward to it, particularly in the Eastern Conference. There are going to be battles there. These teams are going to be. I think it'll be a lot closer. The Celtics just blew away everybody last year. They won 62 games. I think it's going to be harder for them to do that this year. They are coming off a championship, and they'd love to repeat, prove that it wasn't any kind of fluke. They waited a long time for that first championship. Now they've got one under their belt. It's going to relax them a little bit, I think. So they could play even better. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. But I do think the Knicks have put the talent on their team together from top to bottom now to be able to compete for a championship.
I think it's not up to the same exact level, but it's very, very close. This year's Knicks team was last year's Celtics team. Think about what the Celtics did last season. Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis. They got a bunch of guys. They signed Jaylen Brown to the massive deal. Now they have Jason Tatum to the massive deal. Peyton Pritchard got his extension this season as well. Sam Hauser played very well. This year's Knicks is last year's Celtics.
Yeah. Well, the Knicks have got to stay healthy.
That's the biggest thing. The Celtics
hurt,
stayed healthy for the most part.
And also Anunoby. He's got to stay healthy, and he has a injury history.
Correct.
But when he plays, they rarely lose.
Yeah.
Even without the great big center, all-star center. Now that they have him, wow. And he shoots 40% from 3-point too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
well,
it's going to be interesting to see. We remember 10 years ago we interviewed him.
Yeah.
You did anyway. Yeah. At the Knicks. At the NBA. A rookie event that we went to.
Correct, where they got their photo opportunity. By the way, speaking about Karl-Anthony Towns, nicest guy there.
Yeah, very nice guy.
Out of everybody in the draft class, two stood out to me. Karl-Anthony Towns, which was, I think, the first or second person I interviewed. And then the second one would be Kristaps Porzingis, was extremely
he was a
nice.
very nice guy.
And that was the big guy there. He was the guy that everybody, because you're in New York, you wanted to interview the big guy from New York now, the unicorn as they now call him. But Karl-Anthony Towns, extremely, extremely nice guy. Now he's on the Knicks. Should be interesting to watch, but I'm telling you, mark my words, health-wise, if they just stay healthy, which a couple of these players, they have injury histories. If they stay healthy, there's a very decent shot the Knicks take the 1 seed in the East. I think, because the only gap is in case one of them goes down, and especially if it's a guard, Deuce McBride, you're going to have to rely on scoring off the bench. We saw in the playoffs, you can't let Deuce McBride be the only guy who you need to score. It just doesn't work.
I think Mitchell Robinson, whether he comes back from that injury strong or not, is important too, because who's the backup center then? What's the other guy's name?
It would be Precious Achiuwa. That's really all they got, which is why they needed some guy. And I'll say this, Julius Randle needed to go. He would need to take a massive payday, or he would need to decrease his pay again, but it was more likely that he was either going to get traded midseason or he was going to go. That's been known for like a year or two at this point. DiVincenzo's the massive one that I think a lot of people were shocked by, but you take a look at his role on the team. He was already a bench player for the Golden State Warriors. He proved himself to be a true starter last year on the Knicks.
Yeah, well, he's turned out to be He's turned out to be a journeyman.
A little bit, but I don't think it's the case where he gets passed around the league because of his poor performance. I think it's just been circumstance. The Warriors, they didn't need him anymore. They got rid of him. The Knicks picked him up, made him into a beautiful starter, shot 40% from three, broke the Knicks 3-point record, and he was going to get relegated back to the bench. If I prove myself as a starter, why would I submit myself to go back on the bench?
No.
So I think his role on the Timberwolves, I think is going to be a great role. He's going to be together with Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, McDaniels.
I think the Timberwolves, in a way, it was a good trade for them.
Oh, it is,
right? Because they have Gobert to play center.
Right. And as long as, he doesn't choke and then play poorly like he did in the playoffs. I mean, he was a traffic cone. He wasn't moving. It was a bad look for him. But as long as that doesn't happen, I think they should be pretty good.
Yeah.
Who's saying they can't make another deep playoff run and be this close to the NBA Finals?
We'll be watching that first game, next Celtics.
Oh, it's going to be fun.
Is that in Boston or is it in New York?
I would need to look it up. I think, though, it is in Boston. I could be completely wrong.
I think it was, too.
Let's do a quick check. At Boston.
Yeah.
At Boston. It's on Tuesday, October 22nd. So it's going to be enjoyable watch, 7:30 p.m. on TNT. All right, let's get to our last topic, though. We do this every Tuesday throughout the NFL season. We make our predictions for the Thursday night game. This time, it's Bucs against Falcons. Each team coming off a great win. The Buccaneers just absolutely dominated the Philadelphia Eagles. We talked about that earlier on in the show. While the Atlanta Falcons had a 58-yard game-winning field goal from Younghoe Koo to move them to I would say, respectable 2-2 or this early in the season with some of the matchups that they played. But I want to know, though, which team do you think will come out on top, Atlanta or Tampa Bay?
Well, we said it. My takeaway on the Bucs-Eagle game was, who are the Bucs? Are they a world beater? Will they dominate teams that are supposed to be really good, blow them away? It has to do with Baker Mayfield. Is he going to have a great game? He's been a little inconsistent here this year, although his overall stats look really good. He's one of the better quarterbacks. I say he's outplaying Kirk Cousins by quite a bit right now. Kirk Cousins out of the blocks, very rusty, never got a snap in the preseason. Started out very poor. People were already booing him after the first game, but he came back with that win against the Eagles. Well, maybe it wasn't such a big win now that we see the Eagles looking kind of pedestrian now. But I'm going to say that the Bucs are the real deal and that they're going to beat the Falcons. And so even though the Falcons have the advantage here with the point spread, I think and they're playing at home, I think the Buccaneers are going to find a way to win this game.
So what is your score for this game?
I said it was, what did I say, 20-17, 21-17, yeah.
I think
it's going to be close. I think it's going to be close.
I agree with you.
The Falcons games have all been close except the first one.
Right. Well, no. I mean, the first one is even a one-score game, though.
Yeah.
So if you it depends. If you think,
yeah, but the first one they weren't really in the game.
T.J. Watt dominated. Kirk Cousins looked uncomfortable, and then they finally bounced back, and they were actually pretty close to being the Kansas City Chiefs. Not this past week, but the week prior, which I believe was Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
I think. So when it comes to my prediction here, what version of Tampa are we going to get? I'm not sure, because the Atlanta pass rush is one of the worst in the NFL, even though they have some top-tier pass rushers like one Matt Judon, former New England Patriot, as well as Grady Jarrett, who terrorizes inside, as well as Onyemata. They have a couple of very good guys on the defensive front that just aren't getting to the quarterback. They also have a number of good defensive backs of A.J. Terrell, Justin Simmons, Jesse Bates. There's guys there. There's definitely some dudes on that team. Meanwhile, offensively, Kirk Cousins, quarterback, should have been an upgrade over Desmond Ridder. Bijan Robinson hasn't had the production that I think a lot of people would like to see. Drake London, is he a great top-tier wide receiver? I'm not too sure about that. And Kyle Pitts, he's on the back of a milk carton. Where the hell is he? I have him on my fantasy team. I benched him for Cole Kmet. He had 0 points. 3 targets, 0 points last week. I'm glad I benched him. But I think it's actually his use on the team is wrong. You look at some of where he lines up. It's like they're lining him up like he's a wide receiver and not a tight end, so he's getting put on stronger, like beefier cornerbacks or just faster guys that are beating him to the punch. Tampa, inconsistent run game. Baker Mayfield could be spotty. He just lost, not this week, but the week prior, to Bo Nix. Bo Nix ran all over that defense. Baker Mayfield can sometimes be consistent, but I think since he came to the Buccaneers, it's been largely consistent, very impressive from Baker. Definitely earned his contract. First couple weeks of the season, he's playing lights out. But there's something going on in the NFL right now. In the big-time games, the home team, and especially the favorite home team, wins. Every single Thursday night game, the home team has won. I'm sticking with that. I'm sticking with the projection. Atlanta, 27-24, they win. It's weird. Now, I know I looked at some of the later Thursday games. There is no way that trend's going to keep up. Is it going to end Thursday night?
Yeah.
I hope not. But I think that Kirk Cousins will get it. I just think that if you can keep Baker off the field, because they did a couple dink-and-dunk plays with a couple occasional deep shots against the Eagles, because the Eagles' defense is just abysmal. If you can maintain time of possession, if you're the Atlanta Falcons, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, that if we take a look at it, rushing defense-wise, they're ranked 22nd in the league. 22nd in rush defense. So use Bijan Robinson, use Tyler Algier, use your player, use the top-tier guys that you have, because that's how you're going to win. Kirk Cousins, occasional interception here and there. There's sometimes he makes some massive mistakes. Meanwhile, if you take a look at Atlanta's defense, because we know Tampa can run very well, they also have a poor rush defense. So this might be a battle of who could run it better. And I think when it comes down to it, I think because Atlanta's at home, you've actually done a pretty good job with this over the season, especially week 1. You took a lot of the home winners. even if they were underdogs, you took a couple of the home winners.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that we're seeing this season. Home favorites are winning a lot.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of upsets going on.
Yeah, I've been 8-8 the last 2 weeks, and I had a losing record the week before that. My first week was my big winning, and lately it's been tougher. I think that I agree with you. There's more parity in the NFL now, and it's tougher to pick these games. We should look at some of these professional people who pick these games and what their percentages are. How are they doing?
A couple of them around the 60%, a lot around
Really?
50 and 40, the mid 40s to 50%.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's not a good year for betting. It really isn't. Harvey Hot Hand had a losing week, but I'll talk about that on Friday.
Yeah.
Not great. 2-3.
Well, I'm looking forward to the game on Thursday night. I think it will be close. Both our scores reflect that.
Yeah.
You've got the Falcons. I got the Bucs.
Falcons, by the way, are 1.5 point
You might be right. The home team, when it's going to be a close game, the home team I usually pick. But I think the Bucs with the big win over the Eagles. Maybe there's a little carryover from that. And Baker Mayfield, it's up to him really. The team seems to go the way he goes. They have Mike Evans. He'll be the best receiver out there on the field. And
Chris Godwin might be the second best.
Yeah, that's right. So the Bucs have the good receiver core. The running game not so hot, and the Falcons have a pretty good defense. Particularly adding Judah on there, they can get the pressure on Baker Mayfield. We'll see.
All right. Well, that wraps up today's show. Well, first off, Falcons, Bucs, Thursday. We'll cover it on Friday. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, we thank you for the constant support as always. Go to drsquatch.com/Nathan Harvey. You get $10 off orders of $20 or more for new customers. Thank you for supporting what we do here on the Harvey Hour. But yeah, no, this is the end of this episode of the Harvey Hour. We will be back Friday recapping this game, as well as making our picks for Week 5. This is the first week of bye weeks. A couple teams on byes. So yeah, we'll talk about all the games on Week 5. But yeah, for this episode, my name is Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We have been the hosts of the Harvey Hour. Catch us Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Good afternoon, Grandpa.
Traveling can be a nightmare. Why? You can't watch your favorite shows abroad. You can't trust public Wi-Fi spots anymore. And when you return, roaming bills kill your vibe. Unless you get a NordVPN and Saley deal. NordVPN will increase your privacy online. And Saley, a global eSIM data app, will save you from those unexpected roaming charges. Grab the 2-year NordVPN deal with 76% off and get up to 20 gigabytes Saley eSIM data gift.